So you have decided you need to hire an employee. Now what? There's paperwork, there's legal stuff, there's interviews, and you're not entirely sure what order you should do any of this in. Well, let me walk you through exactly what you're supposed to do, step by step. That's coming up now. And this is the HR Hub, and I'm Andrea Adams. I'm a HR consultant to small and medium businesses, and this is an episode dedicated to small and medium business owners. You have many hats you have to wear, and HR is just one of them. Let me make that part of it a bit easier. The discussion starts now. So before you post a job or talk to anyone, you need to make sure you're actually ready to employ someone legally. First, you need a payroll program account number from the CRA. That's for you in the States, that's the Canada Revenue Agency. I imagine that there is something similar in the States. But with respect to CRA, you can register through your business account or by calling them. This is what is going to let you remit payroll deductions that you're required to take. Second, you need to check whether you need workers' compensation coverage in your province or state. In most provinces, you're required to have it once you hire employees, though the rules do vary province by province and sometimes by industry. But don't skip this step. Make sure if someone gets injured and you were not covered, you are personally going to be on the hook for that, and that would not be pleasant. Third, you're going to need to decide how you want to run your payroll. A lot of the businesses I work with are using QuickBooks for their accounting, and you could then purchase QuickBooks Payroll and make that part of it easy. But they're not the only one. There's also other services like WagePoint or Payworks. I'm not promoting any of them because actually, as an HR consultant, I haven't tried any of them, but I've heard of them. And these are just ways to make it easy for you to remit payroll for tracking employee time, that kind of thing. These are going to handle CPP, EI, income tax calculations and deductions for you. Making payroll mistakes aren't ideal. I mean, payroll is the core of why employees are working for you at all. So you don't want to undermine their trust in that regard. And then the CRA or any tax revenue agency, I'm sure, they aren't kind when they find you're making mistakes. So getting the software and having this covered off before you hire your employee is worth the effort. So step 2 is the job description. And you're going to use AI, or at least I'd suggest you use AI to help you write a job description or a job ad. But don't let it write the whole thing for you without really putting your own thought into it. So what you want to do is start with outcomes, not tasks. So let's say you have a customer, you're hiring someone for a customer service role, and you don't want to be thinking about all the tasks that this person is going to be doing. They're going to enter the customer name in the CRM. They're going to answer the phone. You want to think about the outcomes you're looking for, like we want solid data. We want customers engaged the moment they call. These are the kinds of outcomes you're looking for, and this is what you want to think about when you're writing the job description. And maybe you want to think beyond just sort of these immediate tasks, because the immediate tasks in a small business are going to change, especially if you're growing. You're going to want more out of this person in 6 months if you're growing, and presumably that's why you've hired the person, right? So what is it they're going to be doing? What skills are they going to be showing you that tell you that they are a great fit for your organization? So once you've got this idea of what success looks like in the role, then list the responsibilities. Be specific, but also be honest. You don't want to write the job description like their job is going to fit in a box, when that is almost never true for a small business. Small businesses, everybody in a small business needs to wear lots of hats. And so you want to write the job description with that in mind and being honest. Otherwise, you may not get the right person for the job. The next step is to think about the skills and experience that are really going to matter in the position, and be careful here. Consider what actually matters. So, can you teach them to use the CRM? Can you teach them to use the accounting software? Yes, you probably can. But can you teach them uh, to treat the customer with a lot of, you know, energy and intention? That kind of stuff is harder to teach. So, think about the aptitudes, the abilities you want this person to come with, and consider what you could train for. Another word about job ads is that you need to include what your company's actually like. I referred to this just a moment ago, but are you fast paced and scrappy? Then you should say so because you want the right people to select themselves in and the wrong people to select themselves out. And if you say nothing, then you're going to have a lot more resumes to screen through, and and it's going to be harder to find a person who's actually going to fit. The next thing is that is around salary. There's a lot of debate out there as to whether or not you should put the salary in the posting. I know that a lot of people don't like doing this. It makes them uncomfortable, but it is going to save everyone a lot of time. It um, projects respect for the potential applicants who don't apply because that's not in their salary range, and saves you time on screening resumes. So I do advocate that you include it. So step 3 is to post the job and source candidates. You can post your job on Indeed or LinkedIn, um, wherever you think applicants are going in your industry. You can also ask for referrals from people you trust. Some of the best hires are going to come from someone saying, "Hey, I know somebody who's looking for work and I think they'd be awesome for you." At this point in the process, my clients are often asking me, "Well, how long should I post it for?" Well, I think you need to give it at least a week, but monitor what is coming in. So the best candidates are often employed, and they might wait till weekend to submit the application. And you need to give them a chance to do that. But you also don't want to leave it open for 2 weeks and get 500 resumes that you feel compelled to screen. You don't want that also. And then at the bottom of the job ad, I would put a disclaimer saying this job will be posted until a suitable applicant is found. So you'll be watching the applications. If you're getting great candidates after a week, close the posting. But if it's slow and the quality's off, leave it open a bit longer. You're looking for that sweet spot between quality and volume. Then review the resumes. You don't want to get too hung up on someone who has the perfect experience. Look for people who have done similar work, who have the skills. I would say also look for someone who has stayed with an employer for a long period of time. And you're looking also for people who can adapt, because in small businesses, you really need that adaptability, that person who can just take on new tasks and get the job done. At this point, I should also add, do not use AI to screen resumes. There's lots of privacy implications, potential lawsuits. The information you put into most large language models like ChatGPT is not private. Um, they they learn from the data that we put into the system to better improve the model, and so there are real issues with it. Uh, Including bias, which could have implications around human rights in Canada. So don't do that. You are going to have to screen resumes by hand unless you purchase access to an applicant tracking software that does this. That would be a whole different discussion. I'm not going to go there today. So step 4 is to make an offer to whoever you've hired in your recruitment process. And I've done other episodes on interviewing, and I'll put a link to one of those in the show notes and at the end of the episode. But when you're ready to make an offer, this is, in my opinion, when you really need to talk to an employment lawyer. It sounds expensive, but hear me out. So, employment law is constantly evolving, and a properly written letter of offer and employment contracts, it's going to save you so many headaches and costs down the road. This isn't just a, you know, low probability, high risk situation. It's fairly high probability. It's something that I run into all the time as an HR consultant. So get a proper contract. So if you need to end a relationship, if you need to manage the nature of a relationship, you have a solid contract that's going to help you do that. I cannot overstate this enough. This is going to save you headaches, and employment lawyers have these at their fingertips and can help you get it right from the beginning, and it is not going to cost you a lot of money. Step 5 is onboarding. This is another thing that people love to skip and that they really should not. Don't just throw them into the work and hope that they're going to figure it out. Set up their first week, make sure they have the equipment and access they need, and think about those things before they start. Then on their first day, introduce them to anyone they think they'll be working through with, walk them through your processes and why you do things the way you do them. Check in with them regularly in the first month. It's not to micromanage, but it's to make sure that they have everything they need to succeed and, fulfill your expectations, do what you've hired them to do. And this is just so fundamental to setting the foundation for a good relationship. It's almost a cliche in HR that if you don't do this well, they're going to walk out the door. So those are the major steps in hiring your first employee. And it's a big step. Congratulations that all your hard work has got you to this stage. I'm excited for you. It means your business is growing, but it also means you're now responsible for someone's livelihood. You are now a people leader. So do the legal setup properly, write a clear job description, interview well, get the employment contract right, and onboard well. All of this takes time, but it is worth doing. It's going to save you a lot of headache. So before we wrap up, I want to mention something. Beyond these episodes that I do, I work directly with organizations on their HR challenges, everything from building performance management systems to complex employee relations situations. If you're dealing with something specific in your organization right now, maybe it's a situation that's keeping you up at night or a system that is just not working for you, I'd be interested in chatting with you about it. Sometimes a fresh perspective from someone who's seen how many companies have handled that particular issue can make a lot of difference. You can find me at thehrhub.ca or connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you know other leaders who might benefit from this conversation, I'd appreciate you sharing it with them. Have yourself a great week.